What are you doing, beloved?
Attention, attention, my black brothers. What I want y'all to do right now is take out the do-rag, the silky, tie it down. I want to see the waves glistening. If you got nappy hair, pick it. Don't let nobody discourage you.
Ariel.
Black boy.
I actually shower at night and in the morning, so I do both. I shower at night because I like to the day just dirty and all that shit in my head, and then in the morning I sweat at night when I sleep. So it just makes me feel refreshed and clean, clean. But I remember I think yeah, I've always done that. I was trying to make up a lie and be like, oh, I've always take at least 2 showers, unless I'm like lit. And like I just go like brush my teeth and go to sleep, but for the most part, I always take a shower. It's twice a day.
So you've been doing that your entire life?
That I can remember because I hate outdoors and I hate like bugs and all that shit. So like as soon as I step outside, I'm like I need to come back in and take a shower. So I'm like yeah.
So when I was younger, I believe that I used to do my showers in the morning. I know people have qualms about that because they're like, oh, you're getting in the bed like dirty or whatever. But it was usually just like being clean at the beginning of the day. And also like taking too many showers can really dry your skin out. I mean, we put lotion on, but still, it's fine because now I take 2 showers a day because of running. So if I don't run in the morning, then I'll take a shower in the morning, run in the afternoon, and shower directly after the run.
Okay.
If I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I'll run in the morning as soon as I wake up, and then the first shower I have will be the shower I have all day.
Okay. Yeah. See, that makes sense. When I work out, of course, it's 2 minimum. Now I've took 3 showers in one day before, and that was it was because I worked out, so I had woke up, took a shower, of course, and then I had like worked out in the middle of the day and took a shower, and then I went out. And then when I came back, I was sober enough to take a shower. Yeah, but I always oil my ass up. I always moisturize because I'm like, who you taking all these damn showers? But yeah, I just can't. I just hate just feeling dirty or just like I don't even like when people like lay on my bed with clothes, like with their outdoor clothes on. I'm like, no, you gotta chill.
Yeah. Oh my God. So I had never heard of that until college. My friend Kay, she was really, really adamant about that. She's like, do not sit on my bed with outside clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about it is like, who just has like, inside clothes waiting around? Like, so do y'all just come home and then you like change?
Or y'all stay in the living room.
And you change?
I go in the living room and like lounge around in there, but like when I'm in my bed, I'm not trying to wear jeans, anything of that nature. I don't feel comfortable. So like I have like a pair of like sweats or like a t-shirt, like somewhere I can just throw that on. But for the most part, I'm like stay in the living room. Like,
so I don't own sweatpants. I'm not a sweatpant wearer. I never have been. And my loungewear is pretty much limited to my little bridesmaid robe that I wear, or like no clothes because I sleep in the nude.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost like don't have a choice. Like if I were to have that rule, I would have to go out and buy a lot of loungewear. And when I tell you like I genuinely hate sweatpants, I've only now recently considered it because I have roommates and cannot walk around naked the way I want to. Like, I do. I do it, but they don't be here.
Oh, trust me, I don't wear clothes. Let me tell you, I walk around this bitch naked. I am giving people shows around here. Like, I'll just be like, because I sleep naked now too. So like,
exactly.
Yeah, I definitely just wake up and have a robe, put the robe on, go to the bathroom, or I just be like, shit, fuck it. You gonna just see what you see.
If I can run to the bathroom really quickly without putting clothes on, I mean, and a bitch like me, I'll try it. Like I just don't like wearing clothes. So
it's just, I don't, sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to put these on. It's just like, All right. So what is up, everybody? It is your boy, Lord Davry.
And I'm Derwin King.
And welcome back to another episode of That Black Boy Joy, where we create where we create a space where Black boys can be themselves and so much more.
Yes.
You sound like a news reporter. The way, like, not a news reporter. You actually look like a radio host.
Yeah, because I finally got my shit together.
Shout out to you. I'm like, the way you sound too. I'm
Thank
like,
you.
come on.
Yeah,
tune
girl,
it
this
in.
mic is actually it. Like, the girl got it together. You know, we had a couple bumps in the road, but
Mhm.
here we are, guys. I hope this is significantly more pleasing to the ears.
You've been good, but this just the listening to you. I'm like, it's really.
Chris.
I love. You know, I get like have eargasms when I hear like really good quality like podcasts or like audio. So I just like, oh my god.
Welcome to 10.325 Jazz Sounds All Day and
Oh
all
my
night.
god. How are you? How are you doing today?
I am feeling really wonderful today. I haven't done anything. I did wake up with a hangover a little bit. I didn't drink that
Ooh.
much yesterday, but it had totally hit me. I had to drop my work computer off at the office. And so that was around lunchtime. I didn't really
Mm-hmm.
eat lunch. I might have eaten lunch. I don't remember eating it. But so I went to DC, you know, dropped the computer off, stopped by U Street, picked up a drink, went over to Omar and Jasmine's,
Mm-hmm.
had said drink. Then I poured another glass of tequila. And then I poured another glass of tequila. And then we watched The Other Boleyn Girl. Shout out to Natalie Portman for that one. And Eric Bana and Scarlett Johansson. And I had a glass of Riesling.
Oh, girl, you
So,
was feeling it.
yeah, and I felt it when I woke up this morning.
Yeah.
I tried to eat like a quesadilla and some fries. I made it like a quarter through that plate and was just like, I'm not eating anymore.
Do you prefer like a wine like drunk or like a like liquor drunk?
It depends on what the vibe is. Like if I'm at a house party, wine drunk's kind of the best. But like if I'm out, it's liquor, because if I drink tequila or something, I won't get like tired, or I can always get the option of like a Red Bull. But I just feel like if it's not giving, you know, super hype kickback where niggas is really, like, dancing and shit, it's like, let's just stick to the wine. You know, wine is for a chill night. You're trying to wind down.
Yes.
If niggas is ready to start popping bussy inside of the house, though, we're gonna get the liquor going. You know, if I'm here with the roommates, they always got the liquor flowing because they like to have a good time.
Yes. I love a good wine drunk. I just don't fuck with. I think I just like there was like a switch in my head like that. A liquor drunk is another breed, bitch. Like,
yes,
I don't like to take shots anymore. Like, put it in a mixed drink. Like, give me it not knowing. Like, hide that shit. Cause shots now, I'm a bitch now. But yeah, yesterday I had a quesadilla as well. I had a veggie quesadilla with my friend made like a jalapeno salsa.
I saw that.
Amazing, bitch. It was amazing. It was so good. I was like obsessed with it. But yeah, I didn't do anything yesterday besides work. And then yeah, I went over to my friend's house eventually. And then I've been catching up on like this show called Blind Manor on Netflix. Really good.
Who's
You
in
should
that?
check
The
it out.
bald-headed lady?
No, so have you watched You, the second season?
No,
on
I
Netflix?
refuse to watch the first.
Okay, never mind. Have you watched Haunting on Hill House?
Is that new?
No, it's not new. Just forget about it because it's not people that's memorable.
Oh, well.
they're not like the girl. So the main character in this one, she was in the second season of You, and then also she was in the first season, or she was in the Haunting on Hill House, or the Haunting of Hill House. So I couldn't describe her to you at all because you didn't know who she was. But I've been definitely just binging shows and relaxing and chilling. Last week was very busy for me, so I purposefully was like, I'm not doing shit this week. I was like, I'm not.
Guess what?
What's up?
I just got a text message that my Fenty Savage stuff just delivered.
We love to hear it. Wait,
So,
it just got here.
Girl, yes. You know, I ordered it 2 weeks ago. And, you know, I signed up for the alerts because I was like, how the hell? It took them like 5 days to even prepare the shit for shipping.
Oh
the
my God.
5th was the first notification I got. Now, mind you, the 5th was 12 days ago. I didn't get another update until the 9th, which was what, over a week ago?
Yeah.
And they just started moving it about 2 or 3 days
That
ago.
was like last week, girl. That was not, yeah, it was over a week ago. Girl,
I ordered it on the 2nd. We sat and watched.
We sat there and watched it, and you
on the
ordered it.
2nd.
It took them like 4 weeks. A whole like.
Yes, damn near a month. Yes, this is the second pay period of the month.
Well, you have it now, right?
Yeah, girl. When we done, I'm gonna go check it out.
You gonna try it
I ain't gonna
on?
rock it for y'all because it's a little salacious. It's a little salacious.
You go rocking for the girls, you go rocking for your friends,
Yes,
your
I
mans,
am.
and things of that nature. So that is cute.
Let's go ahead and dive into our Black Boy Joy Spotlight per usual. So this
Mm-hmm.
one goes out to the youth, honey. I saw the youth doing great things and I was like, I want to highlight him. So Mr. Caleb Anderson is 12 years old and he just recently started his sophomore year at Chattahoochee Technical College.
Yes.
Yes, 12 years old and is in college.
Come
Um,
on.
so he's had a pretty extraordinary story. They had taught him, I'm pretty sure he can speak about four. No, I don't even want to limit him to four. He can speak
Girl, yeah, you
multiple
can speak
languages.
languages.
They started teaching him, his parents started teaching him sign language when he was a baby. So he could sign over 250 words by the time he was 9 months. 9 months. So he
Yes.
he speaks Spanish, French, and Mandarin, and of course English. So it was
Yeah.
he qualified for Mensa, which is the largest and oldest high IQ society in not the country, the world. Okay.
World.
The world. And he qualified for this organization, for this society at age 3.
Oh, girl. Come on, black boy.
Yes,
Come on,
girl.
black boy.
Age fucking 3. He didn't join, however, until he was 5. So,
Understandable.
according to what I read about him, his siblings are also very gifted. His parents were like very early on, they were just like, something's interesting here. So of course they went and, had him see specialists and everything just so that he could, officially be deemed gifted. But I just wanted to give him a huge shout out for being an extraordinary individual and for representing for young Black boys and just really like, granted, a genius is a genius, a prodigy is a prodigy. So, niggas is really born with that. However, I think just, his parents really providing and really funneling resources to him and really advocating for him is something that I hope young Black boys can receive moving forward. I hope that parents can see that, because when they asked himself and his parents about the best way to sort of nurture that thing, the parents were like, you have to really love your kids for who they are, and you have to allow them to help tell you who they are as well. And I think they asked him specifically what his like advice was or whatever, and he was just like, just like live your life, like it's love your talents.
Yes, come on, shout out. I fucks with that. I love when parents like start at a young age, like trying to teach their kid another language besides English too.
Yes,
like I really appreciate that.
But you notice that people who are a little bit more affluent usually have the resources to do that. But the parents were like, no matter what it is, there are always resources, and you just need to listen to your kids and invest it. That's the word I was looking for. You need to invest in your children's talents. So nurture those talents when you see them very early on. And so any parents who are listening to this, even if your child is not a prodigy, you can really help them on the road to success if you notice their talents very early on and nurture those talents. Make sure they're aware of them and make sure that they said that they teach Caleb to see the gifts and talents of everyone around him. Like, yeah, you're a genius, but like other people have contributions and they're also very valuable. And apparently he's a really humble kid because of that.
Shout out to him. Like at 12,
I know, right?
you're sophomore in college.
I went to school with a 14-year-old. Like that was a huge thing for us at Randolph-Macon College. It was like our freshman year was a 14-year-old coming in with us.
Yeah. I am curious though about like his social life, what that would look like. Like it's amazing that he's on this level, like smart guy. Like literally, I think about the boy in smart guy, but like even better because he's 12 in college. But like just curious about like how does this affect his social life? I'm curious, like the scientific research or like the case study of that, because he's grown up, like he's mentally way more advanced than kids at his age, but he still is like external wise and like a kid. So I'm like curious about that.
So I imagine that it would be an isolating experience. However, he seems to be pretty plugged in with Mensa and just overall like people who are prodigies. So perhaps he has other kids who are his age who also feel that same way, or maybe he's got siblings, so he knows how to interact with other kids. Also, he probably does at some point just want to be a normal kid, so maybe it isn't particularly difficult. Honestly, like difficulties relating to other kids has a lot to do with how kids view themselves. And Like, okay, you're a little smarter than me, or we can't relate. But I mean, a kid is a kid, you know.
True. Shout out to Caleb.
I know. I was just really excited reading that. Like, it made me so happy.
Bro, a fucking 3, 5, and 15, 12, bitch. I
Genius
was
at 3, like no, genius at 9 months.
9 months.
Certified genius at 5, recognized genius at
Fucking
3.
over 200 like words in ASL.
I can sign the alphabet in then like 2 words.
Yeah. I watch Deaf U. I've been watching Deaf U.
I know
Shout
that.
out to that.
Oh yeah, I gotta start that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So on to our hot topics. So of course
we gotta stay up to date with this show, y'all. We staying up to date with this.
Are you talking about Real Housewives of Potomac? Okay. So I almost even need a refresher about what happened. So I think Candace and Robin sat down to talk, and Robin basically told Candace that Monique was not taking any accountability, that she didn't give a fuck about what happened, and that Karen didn't hold her accountable.
Right.
So Monique said she didn't care in the moment, and I think she didn't have perspective. And I would like to note that what I said about Candace not deserving what she got was reiterated by Monique's pastor. So I've been watching the older seasons of Real Housewives of Potomac now, and I do think that Candace, and I thought this before, is a problem. She threw a knife at Ashley. She has repeatedly picked at people and with people in a way that made her a target. And she's also gotten pretty aggressive before. I don't remember who it was with, though. It was probably Ashley.
It probably was Ashley. They're the same level. Like,
yeah. And so that is to say that she's not innocent. And I never acted like she was. My issue was that there was nothing in that very moment that I felt like warranted Monique to attack Candace. And I was really happy to hear her pastor say the same thing. Except the difference was, he told her what her actual problem was, which was pretty obvious. She was experiencing a loss of control for a number of reasons, whether that be Charisse and those lies about her and her husband or whatever, about her cheating. And then Candace, bringing her around, things not going exactly the way she wanted to.
Candace was just there. And like, Candace was just like the excuse. She was the like salt in the wound.
Yes.
And that's what it happened. Like, I was like, fuck, like, I don't think that, yes, Candace, we know she instigates, she does all these things, and by all means, it was crazy. However, like, I think definitely like Monique just was like fed the fuck up with like just a lot of things, and just was like, bitch, I'm coming for you. So yeah.
And I honestly, it made me really happy to watch her really come to terms with that with her husband and her pastor and his wife, because I think that moment of vulnerability really came out, and it showed that like Monique probably did care that she got Candace. It was just like she was seeing it from a blind rage. But this is also why Monique needs help, because, and this isn't to say like, oh, she's a nutcase or she's like volatile or she's dangerous, but she probably has a hard time dealing with her emotions. If you recall, she was being accused of being an alcoholic on season 3. And she was drinking a lot. And she was also very busy, but that's her problem. Monique is a perfectionist, and she really wants to be perfect. But the reality of that issue is that you will never be. It is not possible. And she's a great and ambitious woman, but I'm sure that nagging, like, I can't be perfect thing has probably been eating at her for quite some time.
Also, I realized like her and Karen's relationships are the most, like, I don't want to say normal, quote unquote, but just on the external health, exterior wise, they look healthy, which is like another thing that she probably feels like she has to like keep up with, is like making sure her situation at home as well, and then also her image and like whatever too. So I think that's like a lot of pressure, especially on TV, and you see these other people that have unconventional, untraditional relationships, and we see it unfolding on TV. Whereas hers, we don't see it like spiraling or just like very much taboo things or unconventional things happening. So that's another
in her life. Well, so that's a really interesting thing too. I also just wanted to say that I really have a lot of respect for Karen. I think they're upset with her telling Candace that she would press charges, which she probably would.
When
But
I was so
also,
surprised by that. Like I was literally gasped when
did she tell her to press charges, or did she say she would press charges?
she said she would. I think I
Okay,
was to
so
go
that's
back.
the truth.
Right, but it was like, but to me, it was kind of weird because like when you were with Monique, and when you were talking to Monique, you were very much like I don't want to say
Supportive.
supportive and on her side, but you should have like at least said that shit too, like Monique too, like girl, or like if I was in that situation, I would have like I don't know. To me, it was like really like left field because I didn't see that coming from Karen at all. Karen at all.
I don't think that she was being messy when she did it. I honestly think that Karen was telling the truth because I can tell that she's a little impartial on it for the most part. And honestly, like my instinct would have been to not go against one person. So like
Yeah.
while I think that Monique needed to be held accountable, I don't think it would have been fair for everyone to be on Candace's side and not, take into account what Monique's experience was. So I appreciated Karen for not jumping quickly to Candace's side, knowing that Wendy was a given. She was going to be there anyway. Giselle doesn't
Yep.
even like Monique, so she was going to be there. And Robin's basically going to be anywhere that Giselle is. So she's a follower.
Child,
Robin is a follower.
Robin got to take care of her situation.
The tax issues that she's about to run into this next episode. Girl, how you go for... never mind.
I'm just like, how you come for somebody else's fucking finances and then lo and behold, your finances aren't put together too.
But see, that's the difference about Robin. I think if she's just like, look, you have one financial problem, you've had them all.
Yeah, she keep.
This kind of brokenness ain't new now. That ain't no new shit for Robin. Miss Robin came in broke now.
She need the
go
show.
out broke.
She need the show.
She does. But Karen is my bitch. Really love Karen. I like watching the old seasons has made me realize that Karen's biggest issue, the one thing that is troubling about her, is that she's delusional. She just doesn't. Yes, she's just very grandiose. But like she doesn't typically start issues between the women. She's very often trying to quell the issues between the women. The only people she really has an issue with are, I guess, in the earlier seasons are Ashley and Giselle. But Giselle is just a constant issue for Karen. It's just really interesting.
But the thing also is, watching last season, her grand dame comes from like she made it out of the small city. Yes. She made it out of that small town.
Surrey County is small as fuck, Devery.
Yeah, I didn't know.
I have a friend from Surrey County.
Yeah, yes. So the fact that she made it out of that, she married rich. I think that's what like makes her that grand dame minds, like that very much. Yeah.
Let me tell you that me and Omar were watching it. We both have that friend in common, and so Karen's light skin, her cousin is also light skin, so we're looking like you think our friend is like related to anybody on here, and I was like I should ask him, but I forgot to. That nigga texted me the next day and said, "Ain't nobody tell me my cousin made it on the show." I was like,
bitch, he didn't know.
He and Karen are not cousins, but he and Karen share the fine ass cousin, the fine cousin that was there, the little mate. That's my friend's cousin. Surrey County is very small. It's very, very small. It's like if somebody from the Eastern Shore was on television, chances are I would know who they were. And if I didn't, somebody I know does.
Girl, I'm interested.
So let's segue into another television show we love.
We love to talk about it. One more episode.
Oh my God. Is tomorrow the last one?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to watch it on time, honey.
Girl, it's a lot, bitch. This show has been going on I feel like right off the bat, they just gave you so much content.
Yes.
Like right off the first episode, it's like, how do you recuperate from that? And every episode, they've maintained the momentum.
Yes.
And they've also brought in just new things. You're just like, bitch, what? And I'm curious too. This is supposed to be a mini series. So I'm curious about if this will be renewed, and if it is, what comes about.
What do we really need for a season 2? I mean, if they don't wrap it up in a way that like completes the story, then we know that they're probably waiting on a season 2. I don't particularly need one. I've really enjoyed the story for what it's been. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of critiques about it on Twitter, which is completely fine. Like they're probably really valid critiques, but like we're in the middle of a pandemic and I just don't give a fuck.
That's I'm like, girl, let me enjoy this shit, bitch.
No. Oh, they don't have to let me. I'm going to let myself. I keep seeing critiques. People are like, oh, the show's not that good. And I just like, I'll scroll. Like, and I might even mute them motherfuckers because who gives a fuck?
Yeah. Like
Nobody
I
cares
don't.
about your op-eds right now.
Yeah, I'm like, girl, this is pretty good quality for TV right now.
I
Like,
personally enjoy it. I
and I
love
enjoy it.
Black people and supernatural shit. So that on its own, it was good enough for me. I really understand that they feel like Black stories are being exploited, and that is completely fine. But I just don't care.
I don't. Yeah, I'm like, This is a first of all, this is a thing that has not been ever tapped into, which is very much I enjoy. Is
Not thoroughly.
mixing. It has not been thoroughly like supernatural and black, like and like this era,
Yep.
like racism and supernatural
Yes.
shit has not been tapped in, and I fucks with it. Like I literally when they brought up who are you most afraid of, white people or monsters, bitch. I was like, girl, this a toss up.
Is that
Like
not a synonym?
I don't right. It's like it's a
They
toss
mean
up.
the same
Like
thing.
it's the for us. So it's very interesting, and also putting it in a time where this shit was just so blatant and just so even though it's blatant now, but like just more aggressive and just more
Mm.
just like in your face. I just like I just love it. Like I don't like. There was moments when I'm just like, ugh, I hate that we're talking about racism and another thing about slavery or something. But I don't feel that with this, and
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
these are heroes.
I agree. And I saw someone say that, the show villain is Christina, but the actual villain is Montrose or whatever. And I was
Yeah.
like,
Is
no, the
Christina
villain is
the
white
villain?
people.
Is
No,
Christina the villain? I didn't
no.
think that.
White people are the
Yes.
villain
The
in the show.
police. The police
It,
are the villains. The
it
town.
it's literally racist white people that are the villains in the show. Literally,
Yes.
that's it. I don't know that there's any other. Even if you look at the monsters, if you look at, like
What
the
monsters? Now that
jigaboos,
you
if
think
you look
about
at the
it,
jigaboos for the second to last episode, or you look at those
yeah.
like the little monsters with all the eyes on their heads, like sure they're like scary or whatever, but like they're really just devices used by the actual villains who are
Yes. The
the
white
racist
people.
white people.
Because I'm like, the Jigaboos did not come about until they fucked with Diane. The fucking monsters didn't come about until like the Christina summoned them.
The ghosts and
Ghosts.
like the ghosts that were there, like the only reason that they even existed was because a white person tormented them. Like it's just there, it is very clear that Christina is not the the damn villain.
She just
Now
has power.
she may be some form of an antagonist, but she's actually really, I'm sure she's got some grandmaster sinister plan, or at least selfish plan. If it's not sinister, it's selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't personally dislike Christina. She's assisted them in many different ways, and I'm sure that she's doing it for her own benefit, but I don't think
Yeah.
it's fair to just call her a villain. If she is a villain, then she's certainly a nuanced villain in a way that I have not seen in quite some
I
time.
think of her as an anti-hero because she has
Yes.
a connection. She definitely has a connection with them. Like
Right.
they call on her when they need things or when they need a cure. So like I don't think of her as like a pure I didn't even cross I couldn't figure out who the villain was besides white folks.
Yeah,
Like I
that's it.
literally was like Christina is a minority in some sense. So she just wants power to be respected as a woman in a space. However, she is white and she does have privilege. So it does contrast with like all these other things. But like, yeah, I think Christina, like, she has her own demons and I think she's human. Like, even though she cannot feel empathy and she had to go through all that shit to feel it, I feel like she still has a humanness to her. Whereas the police, because every time I see the police on this shit, I'm just like, girl, these niggas is like, they don't have no human in them in their bones. So
I was really surprised that people were upset about her having to go through the physical motions, the grotesque things that Emmett Till had to endure when he was murdered. Because I totally understand the frustration of, people feeling like, damn, you had to do all that to empathize. But like, I was just
white
satisfied it
people,
wasn't a Black person I had to watch that happen to.
yeah,
And like, I was watching her get her ass beat, and I was like, this is okay for me. Like,
yeah.
I'm okay with this.
And I think it also symbolizes how white people literally have to go through shit to finally realize it with us.
That's
Like
how
I
white
thought about
supremacy
that.
works.
I'm
I don't
like,
understand why do we want why not why do we want, but why are we expecting white people to behave in a way that is different than the way that they have behaved? I don't understand. You know what? Let's move on.
we love the show. One more episode. We're going to talk about it next week, per usual.
Girl, I know that you are excited about Ariana Grande's new album coming out this month.
With us. Girl, you don't know how I'm excited.
Girl, you already know. Like the moment that she tweeted it, I was like, oh, no, this bitch ain't playing with us.
Girl,
We deserve. Somebody tried to. Oh, girl, didn't you just come out with an album last year? And I was
she
like,
came
did
out with
Rihanna
2.
not do this for like a strong 10
10
years?
years.
Like she just
Rihanna
was.
did
It was
it.
album after album after album after album after album, and she only just now started chilling the fuck out.
Rihanna just literally is on her 9th, right? She's on her 9th. We're supposed to be getting her 9th.
So her first 7 came year
Right.
after year after year.
Girl, Beyonce has only, I think, like 5 or 6 right now.
We're waiting on B7.
We haven't we fucking Rihanna went on 9.
Brandy had her B7, named it B7 before Beyonce could get hers done. And we may not get a B7 from Beyonce.
Nope.
We may not.
Nope.
We might get a compilation or a best of at this point.
We at this fucking point, Beyonce's like, bitch, y'all got Black is King, bitch.
I've given you a compilation album for Lion King. I've given you a joint album with my husband. I gave you 6 albums of my blood, sweat, and tears.
Bitch.
Prior to that, I gave you 3 Destiny's Child albums?
Also, I gave you all fucking visuals for like every song on fucking 3 albums.
Yeah.
Bitch. Like
y'all will be okay.
Y'all gonna marinate. Y'all
and tours?
I'm gonna give y'all the same music, bitch, with a reverb. That's what y'all gonna get.
I'll take it, mama.
But Ariana Grande, I'm so excited. I am just living. It's just something about her music to me. However, I would love for her to tap more into R&B.
Oh my God, Omar said the same thing.
We have seen her be able to do that on Yours Truly, her first album, and also the Christmas album, EP.
Yes.
We see that she has that potential. She also has Victoria Monet in her fucking back pocket, right hand. So I need the same energy that you give yourself, Victoria.
Yes.
You need to give to Ariana. At some point, because I know, girl, you need to save some shit for yourself, because you did give us like an album with only 4 new songs, and you probably was writing for
I don't know why and they were good. Like I want more from her.
Yeah, because we already had the singles.
I need a second part of that album.
We need ASAP.
Part 2.
But yeah, I am excited. I'm looking forward to this. I really just am like really wanting to know what my girl is going to give us. Whatever she gives us, I'm gonna be fucking mesmerized by. I'm gonna just be, bitch. If she gives me a whole fucking pop album, bitch, I'm gonna still live for.
Yeah, I will. I would just be a little annoyed. Omar called it R&B. He said it better be
R&B. She has that, and what I say always to people is like, Ariana can do R&B. She can do it. However, she cannot elude the like feelings like a Jasmine Sullivan or like a Fantasia, of course, when they sing. Because my mindset, listen, hear me out. They have the raw talent and emotion, and they have the way to make the song sound good. Either regardless if they yelling, if they fucking losing their voice, they give you R&B like Keisha Cole. Ariana has the fundamentals. Yeah. She has the rudimentary skills to give us that, but I don't see her like ad-libbing a lot during, like, I don't see it happening. Like if she did a live R&B song, girl, I don't see her like breaking down or any of that. So
I feel that. I'll take that. I think that's 100% accurate.
She got the spark notes. She has the spark notes, but she doesn't have the experience. So, and that's how I felt with like Mariah Carey. However, I did get into Mariah Carey had I think I also agree with that with Mariah Carey as well too. She had the spark notes version of like R&B, but she could do it, and she stuck with it, and people are just like, because she can't dance, she can't do any of that. So
no, she can't.
She gave us that and was consistent with R&B. With Ariana Grande, that's not the case.
And you know what, the girls though, they have historically not really taken too kindly to her R&B songs. Like I've seen people be like they prefer a lot more of the pop songs than they do. Like Sweet Note was not received well because of like it's sort of like trap adjacent beats.
And Thank You Next was definitely trap adjacent. Definitely.
You know that wasn't my favorite, so I don't even go back to listen to it.
I listened to it literally, I think yesterday. I drove back home listening to that yesterday. And the thing about it is like I do want her to like get back into quality music, because right now I do think that she is I don't want to say, I do think she's being very lazy right now.
In what way?
I just think that she's not giving me a lot with her music. It's very much like, it's very much talking. Like there's no like, and there's no like that. she's not like breathing is a really good like just like she's big and she's giving you like a moment, but I don't hear that in a lot of her songs anymore. It's very I'm talking to you.
Well, when you say
Yeah.
anymore, do you mean in Thank You Next,
Thank You Next. I can't think of a song on Thank You Next
where she
that
performed
where she performs. I love
Imagine?
ghosting. Yeah, but I can't see her doing that live either. Like, even if she did it live, I can't see her doing that live. Like Needy, very good. I love ghosting. I love In My Head. I love the like R&B, like the vibes with it. It just I don't see like when I go back to like her first album, like when I hear Baby I don't really right
Mm,
there. I don't see like those moments. I mean, I do love her second album would definitely my
yours
everything.
truly. Oh, my
Everything
everything.
was
Sorry.
very
Yeah.
much when she gave us this is the part when I go to the club, bitch. That's not even R&B, but I'll go in.
Oh, there were some hits. My friends and I
Yeah.
still like bop to that whole album because
Only I mean only yeah.
no, that
Only
is
one.
actually to me, only one to me is her
Yes.
best song overall. Like
It's
I
so
truly believe
R&B.
it's her best song ever. I don't know a song that I love more than Only One. I just don't.
Yeah, when she performed it live, I was like, it
Oh
was
my
very much
god.
R&B with the black dress.
Oh my god. I watched that. I actually, when I listen to the
BBC,
actual song, I sing the
BBC.
BBC version of that
Hmm.
perform. She did so well, and the audience, I like watching them because there's this little white girl. She was like,
Yes, it's
like,
it's
bitch, that's
it's
me.
good. It's she is good music. I love her. I'm ready
Love Ari.
for what she's about to drop. She's been hinting to shit. So
Thank you, Ari.
Ariana, I need to be up. I need to get the music. I want to hear her do some more interviews. I need to hear it live. I need to hear some new shit. I'm
Wow,
here.
she does need to do an interview. All
Yeah.
right, let's get into the and potatoes of our conversation today. So I really wanted to take some time to talk about something
Oh,
that
really
Damone
quick.
Williams.
Sorry.
Oh,
Shout out to also I've seen so many like gay marriages on my Twitter feed. I wanted to just
yes.
name that. I love seeing that. I'm super excited to see that visibility. Gay men getting married and being unapologetic with it. So many different variations of it. I love it.
I actually saw a lot of that on my Instagram because I follow a gay black weddings
Hmm.
page as well as like gay black couples, and I have seen an influx of those pictures like recently. I've seen a
Yes.
lot more of them recently than I had before.
Yeah. So I just want to say that I love it. I love spreading that joy.
Me too.
Yes. Continue on, girl.
So I was talking to Damone Williams, and it was on Twitter. He had tweeted something, and earlier before he had tweeted it, I was having a conversation with my best friend Tori about this, and that is the subject of consent, and what that looks like in general, and then on a more specific note, what it looks like in the gay black community.
Hmm.
So I first wanted to talk about what we understand consent to be, and when we've first had to deal with the subject of consent. Yeah, go
You.
ahead.
Oh yeah. Consent is. I think I've always been awkward around consent, and not in the face of like I'm afraid of it. It's just like I got to the point where I over communicate in these spaces, and specifically in our community, I definitely feel like that is a very weird thing that people like have noticed. Is like you're asking, is it okay to do this or is it okay to do that instead of just acting upon it?
Mm-hmm.
And that throws me off because like I have a lot of anxiety and shit, and I always think about like, damn, was this really some like okay, so just being honest, I want my partners to enjoy what I'm doing as much as
Yes,
I want that to be that. And if
that's
you're just saying sure or like, yeah, it's a turn off. Like not saying yeah, but like just sure, like I guess
not
it's a turn
engaged.
not engaged. And then also making it seem like you're forced into this, it makes me very uncomfortable. And I want us to like unregister that from our heads or like just unprogram that because it's definitely a problem to me in interactions with people. I definitely don't want us to feel like we have to do something if we don't want to do it or if we just don't feel comfortable like being comfortable naming that. And I think it's very much an uncomfortable thing for me because like if I will ask, do you want to have sex? I won't try to be foreplay it. I won't try to like stick it in. I will literally be blunt and be like, okay, are we doing this? Yay or nay? If we not, boom. But I've seen so many guys and talked to so many guys that are like, I don't want to do it, but I still lay down. And I see that with women as well. Like it's more casual with my friends, my female friends, to just be like, yeah, I didn't want to do it, but he wanted it. I'm just like, why don't y'all just say no? Like, what is the problem? Now we talked about that before, but it's like, really, why do we just feel like we have to lay down?
Well, when was the first time that you had to engage the topic of consent?
Well, I didn't have a partner until my senior year of college, and that I think that was the first time that like I had to engage in like, okay, we doing this. Like,
Even mental? Well, I guess I really mean mentally versus physically.
I think it was just like conversation, like so. I think media more so. I think it's just like seeing a lot of conversations about rape, or just a lot of people are like specifically going into like college and high school, seeing like people in movies getting drugged at work, like getting
Yeah.
drugged at parties, or like getting. I think watching Degrassi when Paige was getting raped by the guy. Oh, I'm sorry, that word. Ooh, was being sexually assaulted by the guy at the party, and then like her like starting to like be like, it's my fault and things of that nature really bothered me. Like it's the psychology of it, the mental part that really fucks with me. It's like you start to now blame yourself. So I think like early on, just seeing it heavily in media, and also CSI, SVU. um, Always watching that as well. My grandma, just like seeing it happen to a lot of women, and just like the
Yeah.
defenselessness that came with that, or damsel in distress, was something
That
like that.
was consent to me was always tied to, men and women because I mean, we grow up in a heteronormative society,
Yep.
so the whole conversation about sex is typically between is usually heteronormative as well. So I knew that sexual assault was a thing. Of course, I knew it was wrong. Watched a lot of SVU as well. The first time I had to actively consider myself in relationship to it was in college when they sat us down at matriculation and gave us the facts about consent and about what the school's regulations were about handling potential sexual assault cases.
Mm-hmm.
I did want to, before moving on,
Yeah.
read the what Planned Parenthood defines consent as. So sexual consent is an agreement to participate in a sexual activity. Before being sexual with someone, you need to know if they want to be sexual with you too. It's also important to be honest with your partner about what you want and don't want. Consenting and asking for consent are all about setting your personal boundaries and respecting those of your partner, and checking in if things aren't clear. Both people must agree to sex every single time for it to be consensual. Without consent, sexual activity, including oral sex, genital touching, and vaginal or anal penetration, is sexual assault. Um, and then apparently, I don't know if you've ever heard of FRIES, but I saw this a couple of times across the internet. It's an acronym for consent. So the F in FRIES is freely given, the R is reversible, the I is informed, the E is enthusiastic, which you have explained. That was like one of the first things you said.
Mm-hmm.
And then S is specific. So I'm assuming that's to whatever actions and however those actions are performed. Um, so you said something that had stuck out to me about wanting to have sex and not wanting to do it and then doing it simply because the other person does want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually one of the first times that I started looking at my own relationship to consent, is because I was sitting down one day and I was like, I have had sex with men that I didn't want to have sex with. Like I was in my brain, I was like, I don't really want to do this. But I didn't verbalize it.
Yeah.
And I almost didn't even really like behave like I wanted to do it. Like I didn't want to do it. I wasn't enthusiastic about it.
Right.
And it's interesting that you have already mentally prepared yourself to look out for that, because the men that I've had sex with and I wasn't enthusiastic about it never really noticed.
Yeah. I can't. I can't get my dick hard when it's not. When I don't. And when I feel like it's not consensual, or something that you don't want. And when I said the word, reason I did air quotes is because like the not consensual is like you not sure. Like to me, if
Right.
you're not sure, that's not consent. To me,
No, that's
I'm just
right.
like, if you're not even, if you question it, I don't want to do it. And I can't really get romantically involved because I'm literally starting to think. I think a lot about things, so it gets into my head of like, wait, like what? I don't want to. I don't want to just do this for my pleasure. Like I look at sex as a reward, and that's something that's pleasurable between two people that are deeply in love. And I don't look at it as something that is just like we just doing it just to do it, you know. And I think that has happened. And I'm being honest. I think that in our community, it has been just something that's very casual,
Hmm.
and I understand that. I respect that. Like I'm not judging. However, when it gets to the point where you're
You,
numb,
you're talking about sex
yes,
to be clear. Okay, I just
yes,
wanted to make sure.
sex, yeah, when it's just numbing and you're just doing it just I have people that I know people that use it to deal with trauma. You
Yes.
know, they deal with it to like be distracted by their life, what's going around. And I don't that to me it's like it's taking the value of it away, and it's the importance. You're risking all these things. But yeah, it's very uncomfortable to me if I'm like trying to engage with somebody and I don't know if they want it. Cause then I'm thinking like maybe if after we're done, you start to second guess it, and then I feel bad because then I'm like, damn, like I put you in a predicament that you didn't even want to be in, and then I'm like, what, you know, like it's just like a whirlwind of like unnecessary things, um, unless we both like want this.
So it's funny that you specifically talk about our community because that's specifically how I would like to engage
Mm-hmm.
this topic.
Because I
So,
can't speak. Yeah.
right, it's hard for us to talk about it outside of our own community, but I
Mm-hmm.
think that we also just don't have the conversation about consent in our community enough
It's not
for
visible.
like the young people. So I was reading this article on taylorandfrancisgroup.com, and it refers to a study done and published in the Journal of Sex Research. And it says that they did a survey of about 350 men. 78% of them reported various issues around consent negotiation, while 64% of them described instances where some form of unwanted sexual experience occurred. Says these findings highlight the complications that can arise from a reliance on nonverbal approaches to negotiating sexual consent amongst
Mm-hmm.
gay and bisexual men, or men who have sex with men. Um, and these scripts are constructed based on societal norms and ideals around sexuality. So I guess to say that because we are a little bit more liberated in talking about sex, this is a lot of what our pride identity is about, like, you know, being taking pride in how we do engage sex and being a little more free because we're not constrained by heteronormative
Mm-hmm.
ideals. So I think because of and the fact that we're men, and we're typically, I guess, prone to being more sexual because we're men, I
Yeah.
guess, evolutionarily.
Right. Look. Yeah. What you
um,
said.
there's a belief then in the gay community or in the LGBTQ plus community that sex is wanted all the time, and you know, we do have spaces like bathhouses or, you know, cruising spots or
Mm-hmm.
wherever where people engage with each other very liberally, um and the belief that you're present in those spaces makes people think that your consent is a given. And I've heard people discuss this. I've personally never been to a bathhouse, but I've talked to a lot of people who have been,
Yeah.
and they discuss there being a complication about being there and not necessarily wanting to have sex with the person who wants to have sex with you, and the sort of like difficulty there may be around saying I don't want to have sex with you, or how they react to it. And I know that you're not like a hookup kind of guy, but I'm curious if you have hooked up before,
Yeah.
and then what that experience was like for you. If you have ever done it and then, or like prepared to, and then was like, I don't really want to do this anymore.
Yeah. I've had this happen. I think one like clear version of a hookup happened, and it was an absolute fail.
Ooh.
Um, and it was just because like there was no like I hung out with this guy once, like for like an hour, and then there was one time he texted me like real late and was like, "Hey, come over," and I was like, I'm good. I don't want to come over." Then he sent me something that was very revealing and pressure, being naming it. I felt pressure to do it, and went over there and did not execute because it was too not romantic. It was too very just cut and dry, and that's not something I do.
Mm.
And after that, I was like, "Hey, I apologize. Like, if that's not what I do," and person never responded to me, like put me off like shit. I didn't execute, and it kind of hurt me. But another time was like, I guess I would say another time was I hooked up with a friend that I had like knew, like it was we were friends. We had built some form of a relationship, and we hooked up one time. Me, I tried to like have it something that was reoccurring, but they literally was like, no, I'm good. And I got to the point where I was like, well, fuck it. Like, okay, I kind of wanted it to be something more, but it ended up just being a hookup. But
Yeah.
yeah, those, I think I've had the only versions of hookups to me was like I built some form of a relationship, minus the most recent one, where I came over and then like the person was like, let's get to it. And I was like, oh, what? Oh. But in any other form of hooking up, I've like knew the person. I've hung out with them more than once.
So
Like
you feel safer in that? Is that what that's
I feel
about? Like when it
safer.
applies?
Yeah, I feel safer, and I feel like it's not something like you genuinely want to like have sex with me. You want to do this. You like me as a person. Like the experience will be more beneficial instead of it just being like I need somebody just to get my rocks off. You know, like it just to me, it just makes me feel like this is something both wanted, and this is something that we both like. And also, I'm very observant. So it's the way that you interact with me, the way that you like when we're in each other's space. Like I just need more time to engage because I'm not a person like on the first date have sex either, too. Because I have like I said, I question a lot of things. Like, does this person want to do this? Does this person want to do that? So I typically wait until like at least the second or third. In instances, there's been moments when I felt the energy with somebody.
I've got a question about that
Yes,
experience though, because I think this might have something to do with it. Those instances where you penetrating or being penetrated.
penetrated. I'm penetrating.
So as a person who historically is penetrated,
Hmm.
that conversation shifts a little bit because this is an implied passive position, and you're not necessarily going to throw your ass on a dick,
Hmm.
you know. Um,
But you
I mean,
can.
once you can, like once you've already done it, right? But like,
Yeah.
and this isn't to say that it's impossible, but like you're more typically going to find people penetrating without consent than you are going to find someone doing the other. I don't even know if I should say that. I'm going to take that back. My experience is
Because I
actually
was,
speaking
yeah,
from.
okay.
My experience has been the way that it's been because I have bottomed a lot.
Hmm.
And so I've had experiences where I thought that I wanted to do it at the beginning and then I changed my mind.
Hmm.
But this is tied to how I meet these men. And I really want to have that conversation specifically. So the first man that I ever interacted with sexually or romantically as an adult was from online.
Mm.
Because I'm from a small town, I wasn't accustomed to meeting men, deciding I like said man, and then like figuring out where to go from there. And this is true for a lot of gay guys who didn't get a chance to explore sexuality or even dating as
Hmm.
children. Straight people get that benefit of just stumbling through their romantic life as a child. So by the time they get to adulthood, they've learned a lot of lessons,
Yeah.
including some of the complications around consent. So, I started on dating apps, which are basically hookup apps. And at some point, what I learned is that, if you're deciding to get with someone, you're typically agreeing to have sex with them, while you're messaging them.
Yeah.
And so that had become the way that I initiated sex. And that meant when I didn't want to have sex with someone, I didn't think that I had the choice to take back that consent because I had already agreed to meet up with them.
And I disagree with that because like knowing somebody virtually is a different experience than somebody like in person. Like you can be attracted to what the person is saying or what they're alluding to, but when you meet them in person and it's not that same energy, I feel like you definitely can be like, this is not what I expected. I'm uncomfortable. I'm going to leave. Yeah.
So the other side of that, because you're 100% right. And honestly, in the back of my brain, I totally understood that I had a right to not want it. Right. The issue had become, however, that I was afraid because the
Same.
nature of meeting someone online is dangerous. Like
Yeah.
we know that people, do Grindr hookups, so they'll do jacked hookups or Adam for Adam or whatever. What was that one? Scruff.
Yeah.
And people have gotten robbed or murdered off of those things, right?
Hmm.
So, and these are men. And so they may be a little bit more sexually aggressive, but men in general tend to be a lot more aggressive or overpowering.
Yeah.
And so I would often find myself in situations where I was like, I don't want to do this, but I'm so terrified to say that I don't. And I've even
Yeah,
had an
true.
experience where I did tell a man that I didn't want to, and he was so angry that he had to like leave the room. Oh my God, yeah. And I was just
Yeah,
like,
and that's valid. And I want to name like the way I am saying like you should step away. It's not that easy in certain spaces. Like even with me and I was penetrating, I still felt the person was irritated too. So like even though I
yeah.
just told you like no, and I still got pressured into doing it, and then I like ended up not doing it, I still feel like the person was like irritated, like because I tried to, but I'm not gonna lie.
And of course they have a right to be disappointed, right? Or like, you know, they may be frustrated, but I
Yeah,
think it creates an interesting environment to be sort of aggressive in that anger when someone just has decided they don't want to have sex. Consent is kind of scary. Like
hmm,
the issue really is that like there are cases where consent is not verbally withdrawn because you know a person just doesn't, and this is the inherent dangerous nature
yep,
of hookup culture, which is a very much a thing in the LGBTQ community. um but you know it gets really tricky sometimes, and I can say that I've had way more experiences than I would like to that I'm, you know, proud to admit of being in that situation.
yeah,
And it is the sort of downside of engaging in hookup culture, but I'm not going to shame us for engaging in hookup culture
absolutely.
at all. And I think this is why we don't have this conversation publicly, is because and I read an article in Guardian that was talking about this. And they say, you know, like we don't want people to look at us and be like, see, we were right, like, you know, these like super sexual people are doing some immoral things and here are the consequences of it, right? Especially since we know that sexual assault happens a lot in the straight community, so it's
Hmm.
not even completely valid to say that it's unique to us, but it is less discussed because we don't talk about this stuff when we're younger. We don't learn about what gay sex is like, as and it's not even just the action of gay sex when we're younger, but just the politics of it, like the nature of discussing sex, you know,
Yeah.
saying, okay, you know, you do need consent for oral and you do need consent for like a BJ or whatever. And I feel like I didn't know I didn't know that it was an option to get up and go until one of my female friends was like, yeah, I do that all the time. I'll just be like, or stop in the middle of sex and be like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
Because honestly, those are the other instances for me. I'm not enjoying it. Like I'm in the middle of sex and I don't like it.
And that to me is like a mind-boggling thing, specifically with somebody like in you penetrating you and you're
Yes.
not enjoying
Yes.
it. I feel like that's the worst experience. Like it's
Oh, it
like
is.
you're being jabbed in a
It
space.
is.
Right.
Someone was like, you know, sex is not supposed to be painful. And, you know,
Yeah.
you watch a lot of porn or whatever. And like for me, I was like, you know, I'm a man. I guess I'm supposed to be able to take some of this pain. Have seen people enjoy pain during sex. I don't.
Yeah. I also go back to the conversation specifically to their first of all, men at younger age were pressured into like if you messed around with a woman or things of that nature, you were made a man. And
Mhm.
I'm even thinking about like Boosie was like, I think on one of his pages was like not forcing, but
Hired a
like
sex worker.
insinuating, yeah, hired a sex worker. And I think it's a different mindset than men because it's this proving our manhood is the more
Mm.
important thing than us not wanting to have sex. Like it's just us like, okay, I've done this, I got this out the way. Bada bing, bada boom. Like I even can name, I did that. I tried to do that in college, and it just the only reason that it did not work, it was because the girl said she was on her period.
Mm.
I literally every male on our floor had a girl. Me, oh, I want to be like every other nigga, get a girl. I hadn't had actual intercourse with a female before, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna prove my manhood and things like that. And she like, and I'm glad she said that because I didn't want to do it too either. So it was like pressure. But I think about that too, like this mind frame that men have is like I had to prove my manhood to do this, even though I didn't want to do it. I had to like this rite of passage, and it's like, let's
Yeah.
talk about that.
The last time that I had an excuse me, an unwanted sexual experience, we had already gone like 2 rounds, and he came twice. So that last one, I was kind of like, this is really painful, and I don't want to do this anymore. So I was
Girl,
like,
that's
you
a
know,
long time.
tap out.
Especially if you don't like it. You like, oh, girl.
And okay, and I liked it at some point, and then I just stopped enjoying it. So
Yeah.
I know I was like, you know, I, I'm tapping out. I don't really want to do this anymore.
Hmm.
And like he just kept going, and I just was like, okay, I guess I just gotta like deal with it. Right though, right? And like in the
Yes,
moment,
no.
your mind kind of does what it needs to do to survive that moment, right? And you don't necessarily, because it's not violent or it's not cut and dry, your mind tells you that you haven't been violated. Um and then you do talk to other people about their experiences, and you realize that, like, you the wishes you have for your body have not been honored. And the problem with that is you teach yourself that people don't have to honor your body.
And yeah, that's a problem. That's the thing that bothers. Is like, to me, is like it's like you're not treating yourself with the dignity and self
Yes.
respect that you should. You're giving that to somebody else, and
Yeah.
it's yeah, yeah. I'm
I
like,
mean, and in sex, you do give your body to someone else,
but
but
you have to. But I'm always like, you have to want, like, you want it. Like with me, I tell my partners, I'm like, I am down. Be honest, I'm down for but to be honest, I'm not always. Like, there's moments that I'm like, I'm just fall asleep or something. But like, I'm like, you gotta insinuate something to me. Like, you could,
mm,
because I'm not about to be like, I can kiss on you, I can do that, but like, if you're not feeling it, I'm like, I need you to like press up on me or something like that. Like, one of my partners was like, you should know, or if I'm not saying anything, you're good. And I'm like, no, 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 that doesn't work for me, because if you're not saying anything, there's so many things that can be left to the imagination. Like,
mm,
to me, and I think that's another thing. Some guys are like, well, if I'm not complaining, if I didn't mention it, but I'm like, would you even have mentioned it if not? So you're saying that, but it's like, no, this is like a cop out. This is like a way for you to just like do it, and then lo and behold, fast forward, I found out when we did it, it was like, oh yeah, I just wanted to do it for you, and I was like,
yeah, which is not
see,
fair to the person. And what's interesting about that is, especially since I know how you approach sex, it wasn't like this was some one-off stranger. This is somebody who, you have a rapport with and
yeah,
who trusts you.
yeah.
And even in that moment didn't think like, I don't want to do this and I have a right not to do it. And but like, where do we get this mindset that, like, in order to keep someone around, we have to have sex with them? Because that's,
Society too,
yeah.
the pressure, because
And yeah.
people say if you're not gonna do it, somebody they're gonna find somebody else to do it.
Yeah, that's such an unhealthy
It is.
mindset.
It is, but it that is true. And the thing about it is, if somebody else is willing to leave and go somewhere else because you don't want to do it at this time, that is perfectly, that I feel like that person is not worth it.
Yeah.
And I can even think about like the first time I actually even was interested in being penetrated. It was the first time we hung out, like, well, not the first, the second time we hung out, and I wasn't prepared. I didn't think that this was going to go to that, but I was enjoying the moment, and the person was trying it, and I was like, wait, hold on, let's stop. I wasn't prepared. And they were like, well, do you want to do it to me? And I was like, no, because it just kind of ruined the moment. And I was like, well, we can do it, we can try to get, like, do it the next time. Girl, this person blocked me. I was like,
I mean, that's how niggas approach it though. And then you're like, well, did I do something
I was like,
wrong?
did I do something wrong? I was like, damn, should I have just done it then? But I was like, I know, because I would have
No.
been embarrassed.
Right.
I would
Right.
have been embarrassed. And I was like, I wasn't comfortable. Like, to me, being penetrated, you have to be comfortable at a point. To me, you have, like,
You do.
you
If
have
you're
to be
going to enjoy
comfortable.
it.
Yeah,
This
you
is
have to
honestly
be.
why I like to empty out, because at that point my brain is, I didn't realize until maybe like halfway into my sex life that if I know for a fact that I have nothing inside of me, I can relax a lot more. And so
Mm-hmm.
I will and the more relaxed you are, the more comfortable and more enjoyable anal sex is. Just so
Mm-hmm.
everyone knows that douching is not just about being sanitary or, avoiding embarrassing moments. It's often so that you can calm down and really relax yourself, relax your body so that you can enjoy the sex as
Yes,
well.
when you know that you are together, it'll just make you feel comfortable. I even have another person. I was like, I was like dating, I would say, and they wanted to do it. They wanted to fuck me, and I kept trying, and I just was not. I wasn't ready. And the person would be so mad. They would be just like, "You just are wasting my time." And I'm like, I apologize, right? I'm like, but it's not that easy for me to, like. I have to check in. I can't check out. I can't, I have to be all in. And if you're not reassuring, if you're not making me feel comfortable in that space too, then I don't want to do it. But
Yep.
it's that thing too. Like, it's just the uncomfortability. Like, I've just seen too many men and women, but specifically men, do things just because they feel like they have to in our space. And I'm like, bro, like, fuck, like, damn, like, now like, oh, we got to do this, like. And it's like, that's not the case. It bothers me, but I've also had
It's
those insecurities. Like, fuck, I should have did it.
it's really really interesting because when we had this conversation on Twitter, there was another individual had come to terms about the number of times that his body had been disrespected.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started thinking about the sort of messages that we internalize that make us think that we have to allow people to do whatever it is that they want to do to our bodies because it doesn't feel like sexual. It doesn't overtly look / feel like sexual assault, which was
Mm-hmm.
interesting because this is something that they talk about in they talk about
I may
this
destroy you.
and I May Destroy You. Thank you.
You're
They
welcome,
talk
sis.
about the various different ways that sexual assault happens, and I don't
Because
remember if a couple episodes we talked about this a couple episodes ago,
I
a
don't
couple
remember, but
months
I
ago when
just
we
know we
talked about
did.
bisexuality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we talked about that, but then also the way that they did it on that show was also like, you can see him questioning himself, because
Yes.
like it was right after sex. It was
Yeah.
right after he was,
Right.
and then the person, right. So I was like, wait, like, that can happen. Like, it's like, bro,
Yeah.
okay, like, I wanted it the first time, but then the second, and then you start to
And
be like,
he didn't penetrate him when he sexually assaulted him. That was not penetration. He frauded him. He laid over top of him and he just like grinded against him without a condom. That's what he did.
was that mench, was that, or was that, because I'm like making sure, was that
So
like,
yeah, I wasn't sure when I watched it happen,
okay,
but it was once they got into the interrogation room, once he got into the interrogation room with the
okay,
police officer, and they were asking him questions about what happened, and as he explained it, it didn't sound like he had been, trigger warning, raped.
mm-hmm,
But he had been assaulted because it was sexual contact that he specifically said he didn't want
no,
to do,
yeah,
and it was done anyway, and because
yeah,
it wasn't penetration, it was taken as if it was not sexual assault. But that is the definition of sexual assault is, or excuse me, trigger warning, rape is a form of sexual assault.
mm-hmm,
But sexual assault can mean a number of unwanted physical connection. um so yeah, I thought it was interesting that the way that I learned about my own relationship to consent was conversations with women about how they were handling situations of unwanted contact, and they were a lot braver than I have been. And I kept asking myself, what is it about me, and what is it maybe even outside of me about gay men that we feel like we have to take things that we don't want to take. We have to do things that we don't want to do, because I know a number of gay men who have also had sex when they didn't want to. And maybe they didn't even realize they didn't want to. Maybe the conversation inside of their brain about consent was really complicated as well.
mm-hmm. It's just, this is wow, um yeah, sorry.
You're right.
I just think I can also, like, not vividly, but like, hear. I think one of my relatives, um, in a relationship with a man that they did not want to be in,
Mm.
and I've had these like flashbacks of like my cousins being okay with hearing it, and
Oh wow. Is this like spousal?
yeah, I don't even think it was. I think it was like boyfriend,
Oh.
and I was not comfortable. I was it. My mom, like, I called my mom. I was like, I need to go. I don't know what's happening in there, but it sounds like something else. And my mom had to confront my cousin, and they were like, "Oh, he's lying, and that's not what happened." But I was like, "That that's a lie." Like, I was very wise enough to know very certain things, was happening that shouldn't have been happening. And my cousins were so numb to it that they're like, oh, they're just playing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not
Oh,
playing.
it's
That's not.
horrifying.
So I think about that a lot, because I think that was one moment that I was like, this is some like, And then the person said I lied, and I was like, didn't lie. And it's just like, just thinking about that, I like people would like diminish themselves and say that like, oh no, that was I wanted that to happen. I was like, from what I heard or what that moment happened, that was not. So that made me
Again,
think about that. Yeah.
your brain, and this is for emotional survival or just like overall coping, it will sometimes tell you that things happened in a different way than they did. And this is why a part of the reason why consent is such a layered topic, because it changes. Consent is a living thing. It really, really, really does change. And your body, for the sake of you surviving something emotionally, might, or your brain might tell you that things just went differently. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I did want this. And, maybe when I said I didn't want it, I was just like confused, or maybe I was just like nervous, and if you've ever watched the scenes of this happening, you might see someone's body go limp. This is something that I've personally done myself.
That is the most scariest thing to me. I've seen that happen in so many movies where you just see the person submit.
Yeah,
They don't fight anymore.
yeah.
They are like, and I'm like, you have just literally, and I'm like, damn, like you have literally just gave that to somebody, and it's crazy.
Well, they took it.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And that sort of limpness, that freezing is to try to minimize the damage. Like, if I think back, and it was a very quick thought, I think it's like, if you are willing to take something that I took, I told you I didn't want to do this anymore. If you did it anyway, then that shows me what type of person you are. And maybe I'm not entirely sure that if I fight back, it's something that I'm going to walk out of here alive with, simply because you are a person who, despite me showing you I didn't want to do this, did it anyway. I think I just need to be a little braver. And this is probably true about a couple of other people as well, who just haven't imagined how strong that they are,
Mm-hmm.
or given people the benefit of the doubt. And I'm not saying that for everybody, and I'm not even saying that for anybody other than me, really. I don't necessarily, let me find a new way to say this. My friend told me that in her experience, she has just made sure to say it, and say it loudly. So the first time, oh, you didn't get it. Ow, you're hurting me. Like, and to say it in such a way that now they have to actually confront it.
Yeah.
Because not everybody is akin to, or abreast of how consent works. Like, you are very aware of its layeredness. You
Yeah. Like
understand that
even
if a person
during
is
it,
unenthusiastic, or if
even
they,
right, even during
but
it, I'm gonna be like, you good? If it hurt
yeah,
me,
not a lot of people know that.
because
A
I'm like,
lot of people don't.
yeah, I'm like, nah,
And
sis.
so it becomes accidental in that way. And I think that's part of why I really wanted to have this conversation, is because I know that a lot of the times that I have experienced unwanted sex, there was just a lot of confusion. But
Yeah.
this is why your tactic of over communicating is really important. But people
Yeah.
say that blows the mood.
Yes, and that's it makes me feel like I'm in this like weird limbo. It's like, because if I don't communicate, then am I in a space where you didn't want it? But then when I do communicate, then I'm ruining it. I ruined the moment. Like, how do we transpire into this? Like, it's this awkward approach. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be awkward.
No.
It doesn't have to be awkward. Like, we agree to this, then we can continue into foreplay and things of that nature. But if it's just me pushing up on you, and that's not what your mood is, like, to me, it's just, I've had too many. I've tried.
The safest sex I have had was in a relationship with someone who allowed that awkwardness. Because sometimes sex is awkward. We like to believe, because of porn or because of movies,
It
that
is.
it's like this thing that, you just go into, and it becomes this like, scene, and it's just like this perfect experience. But sex can be really awkward, and I was with someone who allowed that awkwardness so that we could figure out how to best enjoy it, and we had great sex because of that. And I
It's the
felt
best.
safe. I felt like, You
Yep.
know, if I don't like something, I feel comfortable telling him I don't like it. And it was a perfect environment for me. And
It's
that's
removing
something
that
that I
veil.
need. It is.
It's removing
It
that
is.
veil.
It's so interesting though that the media has really changed the way that we see, or has really shaped the way that we see sex, because people question what feels real versus what they've seen, and it's like, oh, if I don't do it this way, I'm not doing it right. And that might be a part of the reason why we don't recognize the signs of assault, why we don't recognize when someone's taking liberties with our body that we don't want them to, because we've seen it happen before, and it's like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing this. And there are no supposed to's in sex other than
Yeah.
I'm supposed to enjoy it, and I'm supposed to honor your body and mine.
And the thing about it is people think I'm supposed to enjoy this, but they don't think, am I enjoying
Am
it?
I enjoying it? Because if I'm
It's,
not, I'm not.
if I'm not enjoying it, what she likes is what she likes. In that, if I don't like that, I don't like that. Like, I think people need to acknowledge and be aware of like what somebody else prefers to do. Is that something that I like to do? Or like, if that doesn't feel comfortable for me, I don't, because we get caught up in that, like, well, am I supposed to like this? Like, for example,
Yeah.
some guys may not like to be penetrated in a gay relationship.
Yeah.
Like, they may not like that. Like, and to each his own. If you want somebody that is, and you can find somebody that will suit your needs, but like, there are things that people, you can't force that. Like, if that's somebody doesn't want that, you got to either deal with it or go somewhere else with somebody that's consensually wanting to do that. And I
Yeah.
think that people need to realize, like, it's okay to walk away.
It
Like,
is. I'm as I have this conversation more, I think it starts to seep into my brain. And I pretty much made a decision not to have sex again until I can stand firmly in that. Because I think it's happened to me way more times than it should have. And I'm hoping that, and I'm not trying to put my business on Front Street, but
yeah,
I wish that someone would have had this conversation with me when I was younger. I wish that I had known someone who had gay sex when I was starting out,
yeah,
because someone could have warned me about these things, you know? But because I found out about sex, it was this thing I kind of stumbled through as an adult. And, you know, I had been watching porn way longer than I had been having sex. I really just didn't know. Like,
yeah,
I just didn't.
yeah.
And I didn't feel comfortable talking to anyone about it, short of how to best enjoy it. Like, oh, try this, so this might be fun, and try that might be fun. But there was never really a conversation with me and anyone else about, you know, prior to me talking to my friends about what is appropriate and what is not appropriate, and where your power lies when you're having sex, how you can maintain your power versus letting someone take it from you.
You also have to have people around you that are able to have that conversation. And
Yeah.
that's the thing that I didn't realize. I did a lot of it by myself. I didn't have people that were able to like process these. I didn't have gay friends to process these conversations with,
Exactly.
or to talk about. And then also, once you do develop a relationship with some, like, men that like men or gay men, understanding if they're going to judge you, for being in relationship, hooking up and things like that. Because to be transparent, there are niggas that will judge, that will be like, oh my God, like, and that you got to figure out who you can, talk and confide. Because some people can pressure you too, also, in
Yes.
the other space of like, girl, do what you got to do. Like, you got to itch, you got to scratch, do that. You don't like it. Well, this is just a phase. But then there's also people like, oh, you just doing this too much. Like, you got to really figure out who you can trust to help you. If this is something that you do not want to be in, help you out of, like, help you not out of, because it sounds like something else, but like, help you figure out ways and things that can help you feel more comfortable in a space where you are your most vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because it is something that people, it's a very awkward thing, and we need to.
It is.
And I
But like,
laugh, yeah.
unnecessary awkwardness. Like, and
It is.
honestly, like, what isn't awkward? Like, what is not awkward when you're in something with someone else? I mean, you have to think about it. We have to have hard conversations with people we love. Our parents, our friends, you know, our bosses, our boyfriends, our girlfriends, our partners.
Yeah.
And that shit can be awkward. So why would sex be like, different? Why would that?
People don't want to have those things, and that's the people do not want to have those awkward conversations. People do not
Mhm.
want to face the realities of certain things. People do not want to be their rawest, their most rare, their most rawest form, because it's evoking so many things. So instead, it's let's leave things unspoken, or let's like go with the flow. And it's like, no, we can't just go with the flow. You know, like things need to be. I think it's also during like sex and all that. You are both vulnerable. You both are like literally completely naked. You know, you're
Yeah.
letting this person into you and becoming one with you, and it's like it has to be. That's going to be awkward because you all are flesh to flesh.
Depending on your history
Yeah.
with consent and sexual assault, some people are numb to sex.
Hmm.
And so the way you said earlier, if they're using it, and this is usually subconsciously, if they're using it to deal with trauma, it isn't necessarily a vulnerable experience. It's going through emotions and
Yep.
going with this person for whatever reason, and you're just there. They're having sex with you, and then it's over, and you leave.
Hmm.
Um, but
That's even awkward to me. The whole
no, of course, like
yeah.
who? I mean, if people were aware of these things, they probably wouldn't. More than likely, they wouldn't want to have those experiences. But you don't really know when you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like nobody's like, yeah, I hate this right now, and I'm just doing it because I've got trauma. It's typically like, I'm here. And I've done this before, and
This ain't my
we're back.
first rodeo. Yeah.
And we're back at it. This is what sex is like, and you forget it until someone tells you, or you don't know until someone tells you, and then you're like,
Yeah.
well, shit. No, and that's worse. Like some people don't know they're victims, or excuse me, some people don't know that they're survivors until they're talking about
Somebody
an
else tells
experience, and it's
them.
like, oh,
Yeah.
the definition of that is sexual assault,
Yeah.
and you're like, whoa, I've been sexually assaulted, like,
That's the hard
and
thing too, is like recognize, like afterwards recognizing and now like recollecting all of these encounters that you've had that weren't
yes,
quote unquote consensual. And now it's
yes,
like, wow, I've like been in these spaces and didn't even like recognize that.
you, it's it's horrifying, and it is sobering,
Mm,
and then it's just perplexing. It's like how many people are being disrespected or assaulted, and they just don't know. And like, is it our responsibility to tell them that they have been? Because you don't want to victimize anyone either. You don't want to put someone in a position to
you
feel like,
don't.
like now they're in a negative headspace because they've gone and reevaluated every interaction they've had
Yeah.
sexually, and found out that a lot of them were. But also, like, you deserve to know
Yeah.
and free yourself from anything that is holding you back.
I think make I think just asking the person like how did you feel in that moment
Mm,
is like a key or a helpful thing. Like if they said that they didn't feel have a problem or they were okay,
yeah.
like it was consensual. But if you are like, really wasn't feeling that, but shit happens, it's like, okay.
Yeah, that was the approach that I was taking, honestly. Whenever I found that happening, it was usually that. It was like, it wasn't like I loved it, or it wasn't like I hated it. It was like I didn't really like it, but I mean, like, this is a natural part of it. Like, you're gonna have sex you don't love, and you're gonna move about your business.
Yeah, that it is a
And, and,
natural.
and it's not necessarily like I didn't love it, or like, but I didn't necessarily like. I wasn't thrilled.
I wasn't.
I wasn't.
It's like on a scale of like to 100. I'm like, let me give you like 70. Let me say I'm above
I really,
average.
right.
But it's like, yeah,
Like I
but you're
really
not.
wanted to do it. I didn't want to do it, but because I wasn't here, I wasn't like, I really don't want to do this. It was just like,
Yeah, it's a thing.
it's complex.
It's
It's
very
very, very,
complex.
very
But
complicated.
the most important thing is actually having the conversation, regardless of what it is. Having the conversation and you being aware of what's happening,
Yeah.
just not surrendering. Um, and I understand that's a very challenging thing to do in certain spaces, but just like I think having the conversation and also like when you are hooking up, understanding that this is something that you want to do. This is something that's not
Mm.
like something that you are regretting, and also being safe. Like that, I think that's the only thing that you can do if for yourself, enjoying it, and also making sure you're safe. Because if you're not enjoying it and you're not safe, let's have the conversation after. Let's have that conversation.
Yeah.
Like, what do we do? Like, what's up?
In that article that I read in Guardian, they made a really good point. And I'll use it to as we wrap up this conversation. It was
Mm-hmm.
that there aren't a lot of elders to sort of walk us through our experiences, so that we can look out for those things. So I'm really interested in finding out how to facilitate this conversation in the gay community as we move forward, because we are talking a lot about women's relationships to sex and sexual assault, but I'm really interested in and having more conversations about this as it pertains to the gay community, and more specifically our tribe and gay Black
Yeah.
communities. So how are ways do you think we can engage this socially without, like, because obviously you're not going to be sitting at a bar talking about sexual assault,
Yeah.
right?
I even think about it. I have to also consider this is some people's life way of living, sex work. So
Yes.
I also even consider, like, it's not even that I have to enjoy it at this point. It's, am I going to eat tonight? But I think creating an actual safe space, or creating a space where men who love men, or men in the LGBTQ plus or gay men, are able to be as candid yet very, what am I trying to say? Like, candid but secure in that conversation. I think, like, just reminding of the fundamentals of, like, what's happening is, like, just really checking in with yourself, or just having those conversations where we are re-engaging with who we are, making those conversations of reflection. I think that's the most important thing, because at the end of the day, it's your body, it's your life, it's you in these situations, but really teaching us the principles of reflection and the importance of knowing when I deserve more, or when I deserve not that. I think that's the conversation, like consistently creating spaces for reflection and open dialogue, so that others can cultivate their own opinions, yet still not feel like somebody's, like, coming at them like, you're doing this wrong, or you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
I think that's the first thing.
I would like to see more of our LGBTQ plus platforms have this conversation, or initiate conversation about it as well. I think they've done a really good job lately about trying to have more conversations about safe sex, but that's as it pertains to STIs or HIV. And we don't necessarily talk about it in, like, physical safety. So I would like to see more initiatives across Jacked or Grinder, or even on the networks. Just anybody who focuses on LGBTQ life. I'd like for us to have more conversations about consent, because I feel like if we start having that in media, right, like, in a grand scheme of way, that might trickle down into people's personal conversations. And I want more people to talk to each other ultimately about consent, about what it has looked like for them, about what it hasn't looked like for them. And I want more people to be aware of how they can enjoy sex, and how they can stop unwanted sex if they are already having trouble with that. That was my whole point of wanting to have this conversation today. Whether people hear this or not, we've done it, right? Like, and I would like to do it more in some other way. I'll probably sit down and try to figure out ways that I can do that. But I want to challenge other sources of media, and I want them to have more conversations.
We'll talk offline.
Okay.
Talk offline. I definitely can think of an idea.
We need an initiative. Like, this is for our health. This is for, like, our survival. So it's important that more of us have this conversation. I only found about 3 or 4 articles about this. Like, I was trying to find studies, and there aren't that many of them. There just aren't. We talk all the time about how much sex we have. We talk all the time about how to prepare for sex, what to best use for sex. We talk about toys. We talk about HIV and AIDS, and we talk about chlamydia and gonorrhea. We just don't talk about what happens when you no longer want this experience. What happens when consent changes in the middle of sex? What happens when you're in a relationship with someone you don't want to have sex with them? What does that look like for gay men? What happens when you're at a bathhouse and you don't want to engage with someone in sex, with someone there? We just have to have more of those conversations.
We do. Thank you for having this conversation.
Thank you.
We have this platform. I really appreciate you having this dialogue on Twitter and then bringing it here. Because it was well deserved. And I think we hit on a lot of things that we can dive deeper into other conversations, and invite people in. This conversation is never going to stop, but I really just want to say thank you for that. You my girl.
You were wrong.
You're girl. But if that is I think.
Yeah. Before I do on in a closing.
I didn't want to close it. Yeah, I didn't want to
everyone.
close it, sis.
No, you're fine. I do want to encourage everyone to, I mean, if you guys want to say anything to us about this, I do want you guys to send us an email. Of course, we'll put our social media at the end of this episode. But I want you guys to really advocate for yourselves as much as you can. This happens in so many different spaces in the military. It happens in, it happens spousal assault or whatever. It happens in relationships, it happens in families, and we talk about this often. So I just want everyone to be unafraid. Just take the step to talk to someone about it. You can also reach out to the National Sexual Assault Hotline. The number is 1-800-656-4673. I'll read that again. 1-800-656-4673. And regarding the military for RAIN, it's 800-656 as well, 4673.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So
I thought there was gonna be different numbers, and then it's like, oh, they're the same thing. It's hope. So the difference, like that 4673, is spells hope. So that's why I thought.
Really?
Yeah, I was looking right at it, and it was like 1-800-656.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for the conversation. We have this, so thank you for that. It's so awkward. But if you would like to continue the conversation with me and Devin on our platforms, you can hit me up on my Instagram and Twitter at _Lord Every. That is _LORDEVERY on Instagram and Twitter.
You guys can hit me up on Instagram at Derwin King. That's DERWINKING. And on Twitter at Free Negro. That's FREENEGREAUX.
And if you would love to continue the conversation on our podcast platform, you can hit us up at That Black Boy Joy on Instagram and Twitter. And if you would like to have the conversation or be a guest on the show, you can hit us up at our Gmail at thatblackboyjoypodcast@gmail.com. I do believe it's probably changed to at That Black Boy Joy, but if it's not, it is at thatblackboyjoy@gmail.com. And with that, also, please check us out on YouTube as well. All of our audio, we have visuals attached, and they will be up on our YouTube, which is That Black Boy Joy.
Because y'all know y'all want to see our facial expressions.
You want to see our facial expressions, especially during Hot Topics, girl. But like I always say, please be so in love with who you are, and have a great day, everyone.